The world will break you. Not today, not tomorrow, but one day without warning, it will strike. Maybe it will take someone you love. Maybe it will rip away your plans. Maybe it will drag you to your knees in the dirt and leave you there, staring at the pieces of the life you thought was yours. And when that day comes, you will face only two choices: stay down or stand up. The Stoics trained for that moment, not with swords or shields, but with the mind. They built themselves into warriors no storm could drown, no fire could consume. This is not a story about avoiding pain. It's about becoming unbreakable inside it. The night was still, not the kind of stillness that soothes you, but the kind that makes the air feel heavy, as if the world is holding its breath. Somewhere in the distance, a faint hum of city lights flickered against the horizon. Each one a tiny beacon in an ocean of shadow. You sit alone in your room, phone in hand, scrolling. Faces blur, lives blur. Everything feels faster, louder, brighter than it should be, yet inside there's a dullness, a quiet ache, that nameless weight you carry from one day to the next. You don't remember the last time you felt truly unshaken. We live in an age of endless noise, but also of silent collapse. Not a collapse of buildings or cities, but of willpower, of inner steel. Men and women alike crumble at the smallest inconvenience. Anger flashes at a stranger's comment. Envy grows at the sight of someone else's good fortune. Comfort, that warm and gentle lyre, lulls us deeper into weakness. The ancients would not have recognized us. 2,000 years ago, in the heart of Rome, an emperor sat at his desk by candlelight, scratching words into parchment. His armies were at the borders. His advisors whispered of treachery. His own body was frail from years of battle and illness, and yet his thoughts were not of revenge, nor of despair. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Marcus Aurelius was not writing for the history books. He was writing for himself. He knew the storm outside was nothing compared to the storm within. And here's the truth: the storm is coming for you too. It may not be a war at your borders. It may be the quiet erosion of your ambition, the decay of your discipline, the slow death of your courage. The question is, when it comes, will you be ready? A Stoic is not a stone cold and unfeeling. A Stoic is a warrior who has learned to stand in the rain without bowing his head, to walk into the fire without flinching, to meet loss without losing himself. Stoicism is not about escaping life's trials. It's about walking into them with eyes wide open. And so before we step into the lessons the ancients bled for, take a breath. Imagine the life you have now stripped bare of its distractions. No phone, no noise, no shelter from the truth. Just you, the world, and the storm on the horizon. The wind is rising. The first drops are beginning to fall. Are you ready to walk with me into the heart of it? The first strike never comes when you're ready. It doesn't announce itself with a trumpet or a countdown. It arrives suddenly, like the snap of a branch in a silent forest, catching you off balance. For some, it's the phone call at midnight. For others, it's the morning they wake and realize the person beside them is a stranger now. Sometimes it's the doctor's voice, low and steady, delivering news that turns your bones to glass. For me, it began on an icy street in winter, when the thin soles of my shoes gave way on black ice. A sharp pain shot through my knee, harmless enough at first glance. But it meant weeks of limping through snow, weeks without training, weeks of feeling my body betray me. I remember the cold biting my face, the sound of laughter from a cafe as I hobbled past. Warmth and comfort were only a few steps away, but I chose to keep walking in the freezing air, because deep inside I knew comfort would make me soft, and soft would make me break. This is the truth no one tells you. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the blacksmith's hammer shaping the steel within you. Without it, you are just untempered metal, pretty to look at but brittle when struck. The ancients trained for this. The Spartan boy learned to sleep on reeds and eat barely enough to survive. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, born a slave, walked with a limp for life after his master twisted his leg in cruelty. Did he curse the gods? No. He said, "You may chain my body, but not my will." The world today has no shortage of luxuries, soft beds, heated rooms, food at the press of a button. But luxury is a double-edged sword. It dulls the instincts that once kept us sharp. Without voluntary hardship, the first real blow from life will drop you to your knees. So here's the choice. Wait for discomfort to find you, or go out and meet it first. Train in the rain, sleep on the floor, fast for a day, walk instead of ride, speak the truth when a lie would be easier. Every act of chosen difficulty is a coin in the vault of your resilience, because one day the strike will come harder than you can imagine. And in that moment, you will either shatter like glass or ring like iron. The cold is still in my bones when I think about that winter, but I'm grateful for it. It was the first time I realized every hardship is just a rehearsal for the war you don't see coming, and the war always comes. The battlefield is not always a place of dust, steel, and blood. Sometimes it's a quiet room, a closed door, four walls that feel closer with every breath you take. Here's the thing no one warns you about. The greatest enemy you will ever face doesn't wear armor, doesn't wield a sword, and doesn't shout your name in challenge. It whispers. It lives inside your skull, and it knows every weakness you've ever tried to hide. That morning, I woke to the sound of rain, a slow, steady rhythm against the window, the kind of day where the bed feels heavier, warmer, more inviting than any dream. My body wanted to stay. My mind began to negotiate. You've worked hard. You deserve a break. Just one day won't matter. And there it was, the voice, soft, reasonable, deadly. It's the same voice that convinces you to send the text you shouldn't, to eat the thing you swore you'd avoid, to delay the dream for tomorrow. That voice doesn't shout, it persuades. It doesn't fight you head on. It leads you gently off the path until you're lost and wondering how you got there. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But that's the easy part to read. The hard part is applying it when the voice inside is your own. To master the mind, you have to create distance. Imagine every thought as a stranger knocking on your door. Some are welcome, others carry poison in their pockets. If you let every one of them in, your house will not be yours for long. When someone insults you, there is a gap, a split second before you react. That gap is everything. In that gap lives your freedom. Most people throw it away. They let anger drive the wheel and then wonder why they keep crashing. But if you can learn to pause, to breathe, to observe the emotion without obeying it, you take the wheel back. It's like standing in a raging river. If you fight every wave, you drown. If you step onto the rock in the middle, you can watch the water rush past without being pulled under. That rock, that place of stillness, is your mind when you have mastered it. Some people think control means killing emotion, becoming cold, mechanical. They are wrong. True control is feeling the fire without being burned, holding the sword without cutting yourself. The rain stopped by noon that day. I stepped outside, shoes sinking slightly into the wet ground, and I realized the voice that told me to stay in bed wasn't gone. It never will be, but it's quieter now. And in the silence that followed, I heard something else. My own command, my own will. You cannot kill the enemy within, but you can make it serve you. Children cry the first time they realize life isn't fair. Somewhere in the playground, a toy is taken without consequence. A push goes unpunished, and they learn the truth. Sometimes the bad man wins, but for some reason, we carry that shock into adulthood. We still believe deep down that life owes us balance, that if we work hard, we will be rewarded, that if we are kind, we will be treated kindly, that if we suffer, the universe will eventually pay us back. It's a comforting thought, and it's a lie. I learned this standing in the back row of a funeral. The man in the casket was 32 years old, strong, honest, and the kind of friend who would show up at your door at 3 in the morning without asking why. He didn't drink, didn't smoke, never once looked for trouble. But trouble found him in the form of a drunk driver who walked away without a scratch. no trial, no punishment, just absence. In that moment, the illusion shattered. Life doesn't run on fairness, it runs on reality. The sun rises on the righteous and the wicked alike. Storms don't ask who you voted for. Illness doesn't check your bank account. The universe is not a courtroom. The Stoics didn't waste time asking, "Why me?" They asked, "What now?" Epictetus, born into slavery and crippled for life, didn't spend his days shaking his fist at the sky. He said, "Don't hope that events will turn out the way you want them to. Welcome events in whichever way they happen." It's not about liking the injustice, it's about refusing to be broken by it. When you demand fairness from the world, you hand over your peace to forces you cannot control. You wait for the scales to balance instead of learning to walk without them. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. He had wealth, power, and armies, but still faced betrayal, plague, and the deaths of his own children. If fairness were real, it would have bent in his favor. It did not, and yet he wrote, "The world is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." The truth is brutal, but freeing. Life does not owe you justice, comfort, or reward. Once you accept that, every act of kindness becomes a gift. Every victory a miracle, and every moment of peace, something to be guarded like treasure. Because here's the strange part. When you stop expecting fairness, you become harder to wound. The storm can take your roof. The thief can take your gold. Fate can take the people you love, but nothing can take your ability to stand back up. And that is the only justice you're guaranteed. Picture this. You are standing on the deck of a ship in the middle of a storm. The wind is screaming in your ears, rain slashes across your face, and the sea throws mountains of water at you with every wave. The ropes snap, the mast groans, and the horizon disappears into a wall of gray. Instinct says, control everything, stop the storm, but you can't. The wind doesn't care about your panic. The sea won't calm because you beg it to. Out here, your power is small, tiny even, and yet it is everything. You can grip the wheel. You can keep the bow into the waves. You can choose not to abandon your post. That is the circle of control. The Stoics knew this storm well. They faced it in politics, in war, in sickness, in betrayal. Epictetus said, "Some things are in our control, and some are not." It sounds simple, but here's the hard truth. Most people spend their whole lives wrestling the wind, cursing the rain, and letting go of the wheel. Your circle of control is smaller than you want it to be. Inside it are your choices, your actions, your responses, your words. Outside it are the weather, other people's decisions, the past, the future, and almost everything else. The trick is to focus your energy inward, where it matters, and let the rest crash against you without dragging you under. When you rage at things beyond your reach, you give them power over you. When you accept that the storm will rage regardless of your will, you reclaim that power. This is not surrender, it is strategy. You stop wasting your strength on what cannot be moved, and you pour it into what can. I've seen men drown in calm waters because they swam against a current they couldn't beat, instead of angling toward the shore they could reach. And I've seen others survive tempests because they kept their hands on the rope, their eyes on the sail, and their mind on the small actions that mattered most. Life will always give you storms. Some will be sudden squalls, others will feel endless, but the wheel is always in your hands. Grip it, turn it. Do not waste time arguing with the wind. It has no ears. And when you reach calm seas again, you'll realize something. You were never in control of the storm, but you were always in control of yourself. The arena is empty. No roar of the crowd, no clashing steel, just you, standing in the dust under a burning sun. You could be somewhere else, somewhere comfortable, somewhere safe, but you are here, and you chose it. Because the time to sharpen the blade is not when the enemy is at the gate. It is now, when the world still feels calm. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. A deliberate rehearsal of hardship before life throws it at you without warning. Seneca wrote about sleeping on the ground when he had a bed, eating coarse bread when he could have feasted, wearing rough clothes when silk hung in his closet. Not out of self-punishment, but to prove to himself that he could endure, that comfort was optional. In our age, voluntary hardship might look different. Waking up before dawn when you don't have to, running in the rain when the gym is dry, turning down luxuries you can afford just to remind yourself you are not their prisoner. Because here's the truth, comfort is a slow poison. It dulls the edge of your will. It makes you flinch when the world strikes because you've forgotten how to take the hit. The man who has only ever walked on silk will bleed at the first stone. The one who has marched barefoot across gravel will barely notice. When I was younger, I joined a group that trained in the mountains every winter. We carried packs heavier than our bodies wanted, through snow that clawed at our skin. The wind froze our breath before we could see it. We had food, but not enough to feel full. Warmth, but never quite enough to stop shivering. The first time, I hated it. My muscles screamed, my hands cracked, my face burned from the cold. But something strange happened by the third year. Hardship became familiar, not pleasant, not easy, just known. And when real life threw its storms at me, a job lost, a betrayal, a night without shelter, I did not shatter. I had walked this ground before. Voluntary hardship is not about living in misery. It is about inoculating yourself against it. Like a vaccine, a small dose of chosen suffering builds an immunity to the unchosen kind. When the day comes that life strips away your comforts, you will not fall to your knees in shock. You will nod, tighten your grip, and keep moving. Because you've been training for this battle long before it began. The candlelight flickers against the stone walls. Somewhere beyond the shadows, a bell tolls. You don't know if it's calling the living to prayer or warning that another soul has crossed the threshold into silence. The Stoics had a phrase for this, memento mori, remember you will die. It sounds morbid to modern ears, like an obsession with the end, but for them, it was the key to living fully. Death was not a monster to be ignored in the dark. It was a silent companion walking beside you every day. You could pretend it wasn't there, but it never left. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Imagine if those words weren't just philosophy, but a constant drumbeat in your mind. Every argument, every wasted day, every choice weighed against the truth that tomorrow might not come. I learned this lesson on a quiet autumn afternoon. My friend Daniel and I had plans, a trip we'd been talking about for years. We kept delaying it for work, for convenience, for better timing. Then one day, he didn't wake up. A heart that had beaten strong for 35 years simply stopped, and there was no more next time. That's when I understood. Death doesn't send a calendar invite. It doesn't wait for you to finish your projects or mend your relationships. It comes when it will, and it takes what it wants. The only power you have is to live in such a way that if it knocked on your door tonight, you could open it without regret. The Romans would keep reminders of death in their homes, not as decoration, but as anchors, a skull carved into a ring, a faded mosaic showing a skeleton holding a wine cup. The message was the same. Life is short, so taste it fully, not recklessly, not in frantic indulgence, but deeply, presently. When you remember death, small annoyances shrink, petty grudges fade. The traffic jam, the rude comment, the minor setback, they lose their teeth. Because you see them for what they are, background noise in a very brief song. The man who walks with death at his side doesn't waste words on cruelty, doesn't waste time on what doesn't matter. He says what needs to be said, does what must be done, and loves without holding back, because he knows every heartbeat could be the last. One day your name will be spoken for the final time. The only question is whether you will have truly lived before that moment arrives. The road before you twists through mountains you never planned to climb. It vanishes into fog, reappears on the far side of a ravine, then bends again into shadows. You didn't ask for this route, but here you are, amor fati, love your fate, not tolerate it, not endure it, love it. To most, this sounds impossible. How do you love the heartbreak, the failure, the loss? How do you embrace the nights you cried alone or the doors that slammed in your face? But the Stoics weren't naive. They didn't say every event was pleasant. They said every event was part of the path. And if the path is yours, then every stone and thorn is yours too. Nietzsche, centuries after the Stoics, took this further. My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Imagine not wishing away your pain, not even in memory, because it made you. The soldier who limps because of an old wound does not curse the scar. He runs his hand over it and remembers the battle that proved him. The mother who lost a child carries that grief not as an anchor, but as a reminder of how fiercely she could love. The man who failed and started again can smile at the ruins because they taught him how to build stronger walls. When you love your fate, you stop living in the shadow of if only. You stop bargaining with the past. The job you didn't get, the person who left, the accident that changed your body, they are not obstacles to your life. They are your life. I've walked roads I cursed at the time, roads through betrayal, through hunger, through fear, and yet standing here now, I can see how each of them bent the arc of my life toward a place I could not have imagined. The very ground that cut my feet was the same ground that carried me forward. Amor fati is not resignation. It's not saying I can't change anything, so I'll just accept it. It's saying I welcome this, I choose this, I will dance with it until the last note plays. Because when you can love even the unchosen moments, you become untouchable. The world can give you storms, deserts, or darkness, and you will still walk forward, not with clenched fists, but with open arms. The path is yours, all of it. And when you love it, every step, no matter how steep, becomes part of a journey you would not trade for anything. The path is yours, all of it. And when you love it, every step, no matter how steep, becomes part of a journey you would not trade for anything. So step onto the road before you. Not tomorrow, not when you're ready, but now. Speak the words you've been holding back. Begin the work you've been postponing. Face the thing you've been avoiding. Life will not wait for your permission. Neither should you.